But major crimes, difficult ones, like using yeast, don't use yeast! Now, Jethro, the priest of, hold on a second, I forgot to tell you, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel, and I read Bible so that you don't have to. And that's right, if you recognize the first two words of that chapter, that should be a new contest where I just say like the first few words of a verse and everyone was like, ding, 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 ding. That's Numbers 32, verse 6, like just verses no one's ever, like no one ever thinks about. It's not going to be Jesus wept, okay? Everybody knows that one. But anyway, we're here reading the Bible. You can watch me read it. I'm reading the NIV, word by word. Okay, do I miss a word or two by accident sometimes? They're insignificant differences. So anyway, long story short, I read Bible and keep all the significant words intact so that you don't have to. And you can read along in whatever translation you want. Then hear me make little tiny jokes, little commentaries. And right now we're in Exodus, and the Israelites are wandering in the desert, and they were attacked by the Amalekites last chapter. And God saved their lives after Moses did some weird, arbitrary hand holding up. And but whatever, this is fun Hebrew folktale myth stories. This part of the Bible is a little bit frustrating, and I remember it being frustrating when I was younger because it takes a while for anything to start happening, it seems. They're in the desert, and I feel like they're just like, you're still in the desert? Come on, move it, But here we are. Okay, chapter 18. Guys, subscribe, like this video, leave me a comment. I'm not going to ask again, okay? Some of you aren't doing it, all right? I'm not going to ask again. All right, do it. Thank you. It's like, I don't know why I have to ask every time. You should, if everyone was subscribed right now, then I wouldn't be asking again, okay? Like, I'm working up to, I think, 1 trillion subscribers at this point. We're working on our goal of 1 trillion subscribers. So please, stop dawdling, hit that button, ring the bell so you're notified when I post a new episode. It's every Sunday and every Wednesday. Okay? Exodus chapter 18. Now Jethro, the priest of Midian and father-in-law of Moses, heard of everything God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, and how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. I didn't really nail this down when we heard of Jethro the first time, but he's also called Reuel. That's one of the biblical contradictions. But when you look back, I just gloss over it. But 100%, Jethro is also called Reuel. After Moses had sent away his wife Zipporah, where, why, what? His father-in-law Jethro received her and her 2 sons. One son was named Gershom, which we know, for Moses said, I have become an alien in a foreign land. And the other was named Eleazar, for he said, my father God was my helper and my attacker, apparently. I mean, it doesn't say an attacker. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. Right, and then tried to kill you, but you were saved by what? Was it Gershom's foreskin or Eleazar's? Moses should be very grateful to those kids. The kids should be like, Dad, can I borrow the car? I'd be like, no, son, you don't get to borrow the car when it will. And he just takes out his penis. It's like, remember this? It's mangled. In the desert, mom does a circumcision in the just really, really quick. You don't think that's going to damage it? You don't think that's going to leave a scar? Yeah, give me the fucking keys, old man. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro/Reuel, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' son and wife, came to him in the desert, where he was camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent word to him, I, your father-in-law Jethro/Reuel, but we've forgotten about Reuel, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. So he's a very short man. Jethro was notoriously very, very short. Moses had to bow down and kiss him. It wasn't one of those things that you can just kiss. He was a little person. Obviously, he bowed down, and then later on, he kissed him. But whatever, I'm just doing a joke. They greeted each other and then went into the tent. Moses told his father-in-law about everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and about all the hardships they had met along the way, and how the Lord had saved them. So if you really pay attention to storytelling, this paragraph says, something has happened. This has been a journey, eh? This is actually a pretty good story, isn't it? And there are some cool things. I mean, the Red Sea parting, that's pretty wild. Manna is pretty cool, The Amalekite thing, I feel like, is a little lazy. The plagues, definitely cool. Killing all the firstborns and having the destroyer come by, as a fiction, these are like pretty decent stories for sure. I was complaining in Genesis because there's a lot of repetition. There was a lot of like boring stuff. Everyone was barren, you know what I mean? But here we're getting into some really creative different set pieces that they use pretty well. Again, the Amalekite one, not the greatest, right? It's really not one of the best ones that we've seen. But now we see Moses regaling his father-in-law of two names with all sorts of, listen to these tales of the things the Lord has done, It feels very literary and very, just how fictions would be written. Jethro was delighted to hear about all the good things the Lord had done for Israel in rescuing them from the hand of the Egyptians. He said, "Praise be to the Lord who rescued you from the hand of the Egyptians and of Pharaoh, and who rescued the people from the hand of the Egyptians. Now, I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods who do probably actually exist in this world. Not in the real world, but certainly in the world of the Bible. For he did this to those who had treated Israel arrogantly." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, how many times do we? I think that they're reminding us that he's Moses' father-in-law because of the mistake earlier. And Jethro, who's Moses' father-in-law, don't think it's Reuel. Jethro, who's Moses' father-in-law. The only father-in-law Moses has is Jethro. Okay. Then Jethro, who is Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering with other sacrifices to God. Okay, that's nice. And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. How does that work? How does that work? Now, I understand how the burnt sacrifices works, which, by the way, Jethro, not Hebrew, is like, maybe he's nervous. Maybe he's like, hey, can I get on the good side of this God? What does he like? Smell the burning flesh? I can pull that off. Let me do one of these burnt offerings. Seems a little weird, but let's do it. Does he want a baby? Does he want a kid? No? Okay, we won't do a kid. We'll do a lamb. We'll do a lamb and or a goat. Okay, it's fine. Does he want me to do anything? Break a donkey's neck? Okay, I'll break a donkey's neck. I'll snap a fucking donkey's neck. I'm happy to do it. So maybe Jethro wants to get on God's good side, and maybe he's like, hey, just really thankful to your God for getting you guys out of trouble because, my daughter is married to you or whatever. And for some reason, I actually don't care about women. I don't know why. I don't care at all about women, daughters or anything. She's worth something. She used to be. Now she's got 2 kids. What does it mean to eat bread in the presence of God? God obviously isn't physically there. He's just is it the cloud? Are they hanging with the cloud or the fire beam? Or is it just the presence of God is floating in the room? Or doesn't really go into detail. Maybe it's metaphorical. It's we are in the presence of a God right now. God is with us. It's where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name. I'm just kind of there in an energy sort of sense where you'll think I'm there. Anyway, I'm not going to go think too hard about it. If it doesn't want to explain it, it's not that important. It's not like it's about yeast or something. That's important. But this presence of God thing, it's just something to throw out there, The next day, Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people. And they stood around him from morning till evening. Now, this is a new job, okay? So Moses is the judge. So people will come to him and he'll weigh in on their issues for 2 million people. This is a big job. Moses has a big job. He's the leader. He's going out to find water. He's hitting rocks. He's holding his arms up so that the wars can be won. And he's the judge all as well. He's Judge Judy during the day. So he's actually really, really busy. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for his people, he said, "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?" So Jethro/Reuel is noticing what I'm noticing. Moses is going to burn out, guys. Moses is not going to be able to survive this level of work. I'm sorry. He can't continue at this pace and be successful. He needs to have balance. Moses, you need balance, babe. Come on. Moses answered him, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and laws." So it's interesting that Moses is aware of God's decrees and laws. We're not. Like, where do these decrees and laws come from? This goes back to Abraham, who also kept God's laws and decrees and commands. What are they? What are they? Do we already have them? I have a feeling that they're coming. They might even be coming in the next 2 chapters, just based on what I'm seeing here. How does Moses already know them? It's a good question. Maybe it's not that important, but it is a little bit odd. It's a little bit odd that we're going to see them spelled out soon, and yet Moses already knows them. But I guess he has to tell all the people. So currently he's just like the voice of God. And that makes sense. Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out." That's so true, man. "The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone." Yes, this guy's speaking wisdom. "Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice." This is typical father-in-law behavior, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, I didn't ask. Zipporah, can you tell your dad to F off? Like, I didn't ask him for advice, and he's coming around here, like a real blowhard. Just going like, "Let me give you some advice, kid." I don't want your advice, old man. Did you lead the people out of Egypt? You're not even Hebrew. You don't even know what I'm talking about. I talk to God. Fine, what's your advice? "Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them the decrees and laws, and show them the way to live and the duties they are to perform. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens." All right, so we're talking about different levels of government. Okay, cool. This makes sense. This guy is not Hebrew, and he's bringing these worldly systems of government into the Hebrew land. Right now, all we've ever needed is one guy, one page, Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob, one at a time, Joseph, and God. We don't need a bunch of guys, talking to 10 people, and talking to 50, and talking to, come on. I don't know if this is a good idea, Jethro, if that's even your real name. But, at the same time, between you and I, sounds like what we've got going on in our governments these days. So maybe it wasn't a bad idea. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. You'll be like the supreme judge. The simple cases, they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter because they will share it with you. If you do this and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied. It makes good sense. There's 2 million people. You can't do it all, Mosey. And by the way, you still have to bang that rock over, not bang it, but hit it with your staff to get more water. Talk about burning the candle at both ends, am I right? Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all Israel and made them leaders of the people, officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judges for the people at all times. The difficult cases they brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decided themselves. Yeah, we don't need to reiterate it every time, Bible. If I rewrote this book, it'd be like way shorter. It'd be like, then Moses did that. That's what I would say. Moses did that exactly as it was said. Then Moses sent his father-in-law on his way, and Jethro returned to his own country. If this happened, it's cool. If this is sort of like a fictional tale, it's like, okay, cool. You need Jethro, this random, well, he's not random, but the father-in-law to just like show up, pops in for like a cameo. He's doing a little guest star, He's just like, hey, remember me? Remember me and your wife? Remember that steamy scene from earlier where she cut your son's dick off? Remember that hot scene? Usually it's a sex scene, but in this case it was genital mutilation. But that's what we're into here in the Middle East, Far East, whichever. We're desert folks. We like some pretty sick stuff, But anyway, I'm here just to set up a system of government so that you don't have to work so hard. I'm going to set up a judicial system that these people, they'll know all the stuff, and then you can just take a break, But major crimes, difficult ones, like using yeast, don't use yeast. These major crimes, they will come to Moses, but everything else, like if you accidentally murder someone out of anger, I'm sure they can deal with it. I'm sure they can handle it. So anyway, that is chapter 18. We'll see you next time for chapter 19. What I want from you real quick is a subscription. Like the video and leave me a comment. All right, thanks for doing that. Yeah, right. Like I'm thanking you, but I don't even believe that you did it. If you did it, can you prove it to me? Prove it. All right, whatever. Bye.